And good morning to you. It is good to see you. I know it's a bit early ahead of our class start, but I always like to spend a little time with you as I enjoy my morning coffee. Today is a beautiful day here in Greenville. The weather is exceptional. I would sign a contract for a year if I could find someone to give that to me. But it's going to be a great day here at ALF, and I hope that you're planning to be here all morning with us. We have Miss Theresa Sadler with Rafa Clinic with us today, and she's going to be sharing just incredible news about how that ministry has expanded to help meet the needs and opportunities and things for folks who find themselves soon to be parents. And she's going to be great. We're going to join her in the worship center here in about 5 minutes. And then she will also be with us during the morning worship service. Good morning to you, Brother Buddy. Thank you for being there this morning. I hope that you're doing well. Samuel, great to see you. Thank you also for being with us. But it's going to be a busy week. We've got a few things. So Tuesday night is our ladies fellowship here on campus, and we want you to, ladies especially, make yourselves available to that. It's a great time of fellowship and food. You won't be disappointed. Wednesday night, they apparently now have a fall break for local schools, and so Wednesday is fall break for our Awanas, so there'll be no ministry activities here on campus as we kind of track with what the school does and what the kiddos are doing. Gentlemen, I would love for you to please mark your calendar for the morning of the 22nd. That's a Saturday. We are going to have a men's breakfast here on campus. It's going to be a great time, food, fellowship, and I've got a little teaching I want to share with you that I think will be a blessing to you. It'll help you if you could. It'll help you in your communication skills. Now, we all are who we are, and I think we can make the best of our particular personalities and those sort of things. But there's always room for improvement. So, men, mark your calendar and set aside a couple hours on the 22nd. So, a lot of great things going on, and we are in the fall of the year, which I absolutely love. And we've got other things coming up later in the year. I just love this quarter of the year. So, but it is great to have you guys. I'm looking forward to continuing our sermon this morning on Lucifer. We are going to round out our study of angelology. That's a big word. I'm hoping that last week and this week will give you a better idea about angels, who they are, what they do, why they do what they do, so you can better understand their ministry and their role in God's plan. And then next week, we're going to turn our eyes and our attention fully upon Lucifer and the process by which he found himself cast out from heaven and from a position of authority in heaven and became the enemy of all that God loves. So I hope that you're enjoying that. I hope you're inviting folks to join you for that. So it's been an interesting week. I got to spend 5 hours in a dental chair, which hey, if you're not going to go large, then don't go at all, right? But I had great care, and I am feeling better. I still have some more work, but praise the Lord, right? So anyway, let's see. Let me peek over. I'll tell you what. How about we bring them in here? Okay, there's Jeffrey getting things ready, and There's Theresa, so she's ready for us as well. So I'll tell you what, without further ado, how about we go ahead and drop into the worship service, excuse me, the worship center for this morning's Sunday school class. I'll see you soon.
Doesn't run without her. So she's amazing in everything she does at Rafa. So we're a ministry partner of theirs. ALF is. So as you know, we have different ministry partners coming in, just telling us, like, updating us on their journey, on the story, and things like that. I'm a little biased on the Rafa side because we have a lot of cool stuff going on, and she'll be able to share what the future looks like for Rafa, and then open up for questions, as well. So I will monitor Jimmy to see if there's any questions online. But that camera right there will be what will be live. So if you'll kind of stay within here to here, yeah, don't pace too far. So I will turn it over to you, and we are good. As soon as he sees you come up, he'll go.
Okay.
Turn it on and go. Let's welcome Theresa Sadler, please.
Well, good morning. How are y'all? Good. I can't do too many things at once, so I apologize.
Here, I'll get you a little stand for that.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to first just tell you guys thank you. You guys, like Jeff was saying, have always been really faithful to partner with us, and we don't take that lightly. We know that you have lots of things to choose from and lots of different places you can give and you can support, and the fact that you choose Rafa is important to us because we love to partner with our local churches, and I hope by the time we finish today that you'll get a better idea of what all we have going on and what we're working on in our community and just some of the progress that we've seen, really some big steps just in the last year or two. But I always like to do a quick show of hands because, and you will not offend me, but how many of you in here really don't know what Rafa does? Anybody? Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Okay. You know what it is, but we'll talk to you about what we do. And here's the thing, I like to ask that because what we used to do about 5-10 years ago is not what we do now. So just being able to see how God's working and growing and using us in the community, we've been really pleased to do that. So quick backstory, Rafa is a nonprofit agency. We actually began in 2000 as a kind of a women's project out of Highland Terrace Baptist Church. And what they did is they saw that there was a need in our community to help young, pregnant, and young single mothers with very material physical needs. So like diapers and clothing and things like that. And so literally it was just a closet they had in the church, and they said, we're going to collect some things and we're going to just distribute it out in the community. They had no idea what they were going into because what they saw pretty quickly was that the need in our community was very, very great. And so from 2000 to 2002, it really kind of overwhelmed that small little women's ministry group that had gotten started. And Highland Terrace made the decision, along with the woman who kind of was leading out in that, to let it branch off into its own 501c3 because we needed to be able to serve more people. Originally, we were called a Woman's Heart Pregnancy Resource Center. So if you've been around Greenville for a long time, you may remember that name. But we started in 2002 as our own 501, and what that did is allowed us to get other funding. It allowed for more churches to feel more comfortable supporting. It wasn't just a Highland Terrace project, it became a community project. And then what we started seeing is just the first few years of just coming alongside, specifically young moms, and helping them parent and helping them give the things that they needed, diapers, wipes, formula, but more than that, companionship and ministry and mentorship and being able to really walk alongside some of these moms who were doing it all by themselves. And that was great. We were very successful at that, and we were moving along. And then, as ministry does, as you start to really walk with people in their day-to-day, we started seeing more needs that needed to be filled. And what that looked like is we started seeing a deficit in the medical part for our pregnant clients, specifically on the pro-life side of what we do. We are a pro-life clinic. It means we don't perform or refer for abortions. And what we started seeing is women coming to the ministry who may already have a child, who were now in an unplanned pregnancy and trying to figure out, how in the world am I going to have another baby? I'm already receiving assistance for this child. I'm all by myself now. What do I do with this? And then what we started seeing is they felt like their only thing that they could do was choose abortion. They felt like they had no other option. And that's where we really started praying. This would have been about 2005. We started praying about, okay, what can we do to come alongside this? Because as a ministry, the pro-life movement, the pro-life mentality was very much a part of what we were doing. So what we looked at is we talked to Focus on the Family. Focus on the Family came alongside us then. They gave us a pretty large grant and also gave us a brand new sonogram machine and sent our first team of medical professionals to go get trained. And we started to be able to, we transitioned that materials ministry into a medical clinic. That required quite a bit on the state side, and you can imagine just a little ministry in Greenville now having to flip over and become medical. But what that did is it allowed us to see them at that true point of crisis, that point of need, and say, there is a life. This is how far along you are. We were able to see sonograms or perform sonograms and see heartbeats at that point at about 6-7 weeks, which whenever the world is saying it's a clump of cells and the world is saying it's just tissue, to be able to see that and show them this is really what it is, we started seeing some amazing things that God was doing in our community. And we started seeing women who were believing the lies that the world was telling them and saying, that's a heartbeat, like that's my baby. And I want you to hear me say, this is not something that we do in a manipulative way. We don't beat them over the head with the Bible when they come in. We just speak truth. We just show them fact. This is your child on a screen. And then we talk to them about fetal development. We talk to them about what's going on with their child. But then more importantly, we also come alongside them and say, you don't have to do this by yourself. And we built a whole network now, and we'll go into what that looks like in a minute. But to be able to see a woman, and my background, I'll just tell you, is nursing. And so I was one of that first crew that went and got trained to do sonograms with Focus on the Family. I say Focus on the Family paid for our training. They didn't train us. But to be able to do that and have a woman who is just completely alone, completely in crisis, and to be able to show her a sonogram and speak truth into that. I've seen women completely flip on that sono table. Completely be from, I have no other option. I don't really want to have an abortion, but I don't want to do this by myself and I don't know what else to do. I've seen her completely change her mind, and you just see this empowerment, and I believe the Spirit's starting to work in her to give her that connection with that child and be able to move forward in that, and that's where we come in. So out of that ministry, we realized within about a year and a half, we were in a tiny little office space on Wesley Street, and we needed a new space, and we needed to grow what we were doing. So we are on Jordan Street now. We've been there since 2006. That gave us 5,000 square feet of medical space to be able to serve our community. That very first few years, we only saw maybe 40 or 50 women for our medical clinic all year, which was still a lot for a small town of women in unplanned pregnancies. This year alone, we're up to over 500 medical visits already. We see not just our county, we see women from all the surrounding area counties. And we purposely, with all the changes that we've seen in our world in the last year and a half between the heartbeat bill in Texas and Roe v. Wade being overturned, we've seen an over 100% increase in demand for those medical services. So our numbers jumped. Yes, sir. Yes, thank you. So in September of last year, Texas passed a bill that said abortion would be illegal once a heartbeat could be detected. That was a game changer for us. What we saw before that, abortion was legal up to about 20 weeks in Texas. And we, being, like I said, on the pro-life side, we were very excited about a bill that took it all the way back down to heartbeat. What we didn't anticipate is the change that it made in the women that we saw, because those women now felt more desperate, more panicked, and they were coming to us and they were angry, and they were not necessarily angry at us, but we took the brunt of that because they felt like they didn't have options. So that's where that sono became even more important, and that coming alongside became even more important, because we started seeing women who were really, really wanting to, they felt very rushed, I think is the best way to say that. They felt like they had to make a decision very quickly. And so we had to change the way we did things. We now started scanning very early, We received a new ultrasound machine about that time from a grant through an organization called Mission Preborn. Now I can see a heartbeat on our machine at 5 weeks and 5 days. That means she's only missed her cycle about a week and a half, and we can already see that baby's heartbeat. So the tools that we're using are state of the art, they're cutting edge, and we are right there to be able to come alongside her. Then what we saw is when Roe went away, abortion, as you know, became illegal in Texas. It also became illegal to sell abortion pills in Texas. And so we started seeing women who were making plans to travel to other states. We started seeing women who were buying medications to end a pregnancy from pharmacies in third world countries. They didn't have any clue what they were taking. They didn't know where it was coming from. There was no physician walking alongside them. So now what we saw is our mission had to change just a little bit more, because now our client was in a different situation. And so now a lot of what we do is still meeting her at that point of need, but we do a lot of education on how to be safe and how to make safe medical choices, not encouraging her toward abortion, right? But we also realize that these women, some of them are contemplating traveling and spending thousands of dollars to go somewhere else and see someone they don't know. But also going, now I told our board, it was 2 meetings ago, I think, we now are seeing a new abortion tourism start to take place and throughout our country, where it's literally like, come to our state, while you're here, get your abortion, and oh, by the way, in California, they're actually offering discount Disney tickets if you come and buy it as a package. So that's the world that we're up against now. We're also seeing now a new movement out of Galveston and Baytown, or Beaumont, where they are advertising, you come get on our ship. We're going to ship a woman. You cannot bring anyone with you. You cannot bring your cell phone. And we're going to put you on a boat, and we're going to take you out to international waters. Once you're in international waters, a medical team will board your ship, will perform the procedure, a surgical procedure out in the middle of nowhere, and then you'll recover out there. The medical team will leave. You have no idea or no way to contact them should something go wrong. We're going to bring you back to port within a few hours, put you up in a hotel room for one night, and that's the option that we see girls seeking. So for now, for us, a huge proponent, yes, we're still offering all the same medical care. Yes, we're still offering them alternatives that are life-affirming. But we've also seen we've had to really gear up the education component of what we do. And to a young girl who's 19, 20, trying to do this by herself, being able to sit down and say, there are many, many red flags to what you're considering, and we want to walk you through that. And also, again, this is not your only option, right? And then the thing that I love about Rafa, and I think our years of being here have proven this, is even if she feels like that is her only choice, we're still there for her no matter what she chooses. So I've had women come back to us after traveling, after that pill kicking in on the airplane on the way home. Can you imagine? That going out into a boat and then feeling by themselves, and now they're having complications and they have no one else to call. So that's what I love, is that then we get to also be Jesus. And like, I may not have agreed with the decision she made, but that's not my point right there. My point is, how can I help you? How can I make sure you're safe? How can I make sure you get the medical care that you need now? And by the way, I'm also going to pray with you, and I'm going to love on you, and we're going to be right there with you. And that's the thing that I love, is because it's not a condemnation and wagging your finger. Sin is sin, right? And no matter where she is, I still want to be there with her afterwards. And we have a whole ministry that we're growing, or that we've grown out of that need too. And Jeff, do you mind? I brought some stuff for you guys to look at too. And I'm going to start with this one. And it's, while we are a ministry, we have to separate what we do. Because if that girl came in and saw us at point 1 and she's considering abortion, and I was like, I'm going to pick on you because you're on the front row. But if I went up to her and I said, here's a Bible, and abortion is this, and we're going to pray for you, and I'm going to just, would you stay if you came there seeking medical services? So that's not what we do. What we do is everything is permission-based care, which means when she walks in, these are all the things that we can offer you, and you can pick and choose which ones you want today, which ones you want more information about, and then she has the right to change her mind at any point. And it doesn't, if she says, I don't want spiritual services, I don't want those things, I just want my medical services that I came for, that's okay. If you say no, it doesn't keep you from getting anything else that we offer. But what we find is whenever we start down that path with her, and we do speak truth and love, and we do come alongside her, and then we don't charge her for anything that we're doing as well, we start to hear, why are you all so nice? Why do you do this? This place is different. If you've ever been to a free clinic, it's probably not your best favorite place to go to. But one of the things that when we built Rafa, I really, really wanted to make sure, although we were a free clinic, we never felt like a free clinic. I want them to feel valued and worthy and loved no matter what their choice or no matter where they are when they come in. Many of the women that we do see are in very, very difficult situations, and we have the honor and the privileges of being able to speak into where they are at that point in their life. And guys, we count that a privilege because they're coming to us and they're bearing their souls, literally. And then you have that one shot to speak truth in love and to gain trust and then to walk with them in their choices. And so Rafa Ministries, you'll see in your packet there, and I do want to apologize. What I just gave you, or what Jeff just gave you, this is actually something that we're doing for a new building campaign. And I went to print the other one that didn't have all the building stuff in it this morning, and my printer was not cooperating. So you get the front of it. You can look at the back if you're interested, but I mainly want you to focus on that second, third page that says Our Future. That's where I'm at today. And so Rafa Ministries is that bottom one, and that's what we built out of that girl who needed us for scriptural guidance. She needed prayer. Sometimes she's okay with praying with us. Sometimes she just lets us pray for her. Sometimes she says, can you pray for me after I leave? That's okay. We'll take anything we can get. But then we also had girls that said, you know what, I know abortion's wrong, or I know I shouldn't be in this situation. I really want to get back in church. I was raised in church, but I've gotten away from it. So we get to help bridge her back into that. But what we also saw is that we saw women who had chosen abortion who needed to try to reconcile that. They were struggling with it. They may never have told anyone, their spouses, no one, but yet they would tell us. And so Rafa Ministries came out of that, where we were able to offer an after-abortion Bible study. And that's actually what brought me into the pro-life work. I started in 1999. So the 1900s, as my kids say, which that makes me feel really old when they say it that way, the 1900s. But back in 1999, I actually went through an abortion recovery Bible study myself for an abortion I had had in college. And I tell people all the time, short of my own salvation, I think it's the best decision I ever made. And I tell my husband that too. I love him. I said, but I wouldn't be the wife and mother I am had I not gone through that. And so that was very, very important for me, that we keep that component within Rafa Ministries to be able to help women, again, on the back end of that. And some women are a few weeks out from that procedure and are already seeking help on how to deal with the emotional and spiritual effects that abortion has. But then I've had women, I had a woman a number of years ago in her 80s with some very serious health issues who knew her time was short. And she said, I need to get this right. And she came in, and her abortion had actually been before Roe v. Wade. So she had carried that, never told a soul all those years. So it's never too late. Statistics tell us 1 in 4 women under 45 have had at least one abortion. Think about the women in your life, 1 in 4. So please know that that's always something that we can help with. The other thing, we kind of hit on it a little bit earlier with Rafa Clinic, and that's actually what most people know us as. And that's the medical component. We do the pregnancy testing, we do the ultrasound. We've added now, just as a point of need, we've added community navigators. So when a woman does come in and needs help with medical insurance, most of the women that we see are about $14,000 a year or under in their annual income. That's not much. And they're now fixing to have a baby. So we help them get enrolled in Medicaid. They can do that there on site now. We can help them through that process if they need information about what resources are. The way we approach that is a true case management approach. So we look at not only their medical services, but housing. We work closely with housing. We work with a couple of realtors too. We found some discounted rent, things like that. And we now are part of a federal grant that can pay for rent and utilities as well. So we try to really meet them at that point of need. But we look at medical, we look at housing, we look at education. So we'll get to that in a minute of how we help fill that gap. Child care, work with child care. Texas actually offers, if you don't know, a program to help pay for child care. It's kind of a voucher system. Unfortunately, in Hunt County, there's a 2-year waiting list. So if I'm pregnant now, and I get on that list now, even when my child is born and I need to go back to work, I'm still looking at over a year before an opening may open up. So trying to find affordable health or childcare options is a big deal, and just helping women fill that gap. And then transportation. Now, I haven't been able to buy anybody a car yet, but we do pay for the connection for them, and we do help them try to find those things. But we have paid car repairs before. So if she has a car sitting in her driveway and needs to go to work, but it needs $400 worth of work to get going, we go find a mechanic, we work out a rate, and we see what we can do. So it's really, again, meeting that point of need, because what I've heard over and over and over for years is, I really want to have this baby, but whatever that but is, whether it's I'm 3 months behind on my bills, or I don't want to be tied to him, or I'm about to get kicked out of my house, or I need to finish school, whatever that is. So we try to find whatever that obstacle is that's pushing her toward abortion, and say, if this weren't your obstacle, if we could help remove this obstacle, would you want to still carry? And more times than not, we hear, yeah, but all they see is the obstacle, right? So they often don't know. Like, for instance, we had a young lady, it's been a couple of months now, she came in, she was a grad student over at Texas A&M, this close to being done, but scholarship, she lived in housing over there, and she's like, I have to finish school. I'm going to get kicked out of my housing. I don't know what to do. She had no idea that there is family housing available on campus. She had no idea that there's childcare available on campus, and she had no idea that there's scholarships available for students who are also parents to help them finish out their degree plan. Well, once we plugged her into those, and she got to see that, okay, this might be doable, she's had her child now, and she's graduated. Well, I think she's due to graduate in December, but she's doing really, really well. And so sometimes it's just, they don't know what's out there, and we help plug them into that. So that brings us to our new initiative, and that's the Family Center. We were supposed to open this summer, but as all things COVID related have happened, we were waiting on supplies forever. But the city, or my contractor tells me, we're a few weeks out from getting our stuff approved by the city, so we'll be open hopefully in November. And the point of this actually grew out of how do we help families after the children are born? And especially in a world where our opposition, where Planned Parenthood and the pro-choice movement is saying, well, you just want those babies to be born and you don't care about these moms. Well, we know that's not true. And we've been doing this for years. And whenever we saw so many children now being born where families were really wanting to have children but weren't equipped to be good parents, and I don't mean that came off wrong. Not that they're not equipped to be good parents, but they're coming from cycles of abuse and addiction and poverty. And they don't have the tools in their toolbox to break those cycles, right? So we work closely with the court systems and with CPS. They'll send us families that are in the midst of cases involving any of those things, drug court, a divorce, addiction, abuse, any of those things. Originally that started in Hunt County. Now we serve families from over 20 counties in Northeast Texas, where they come to us to get the tools in their toolbox to break some of those cycles. And for us, that means, like our most popular class is a co-parenting class. It's a boundaries class, because I've never been shown how to have good boundaries with my spouse or my boyfriend or my parents. I can't parent well out of that because I'm being taken advantage of, right? Or I'm being hit on, or I'm allowing drugs in my home. So we start working on those things, but everything we do on the family side has that faith-based component. So we're talking about who you are in the Lord. What's your value? What's your worth? What does that do? The Family Center also, so that's where it came out of, is we started seeing more and more families coming to us, and we didn't advertise these services at all. We only advertised the medical services. So all these families coming in, it was, I helped you, and when you knew somebody who needed help, they were literally bringing them in, or they'd finish classes and they go, hey, this is my mom and she takes care of my kids when I'm at work. Can she go through your classes too? Because we need to work this out together. Or this is my sister. My favorite story was a young couple that got put in classes. One of our local judges ordered classes. And when I say they did not want to be there, I mean, I actually had to ask the gentleman to leave because he walked in the front door, cussing, slamming doors. I don't want to be here, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, you know, that's not me. You need to go talk to that judge. He's the one who ordered you to be here. And he came back in and he apologized, which was very brave, and walked back in and apologized. They went through classes. They finished classes. Before he left classes, he'd accepted Jesus. He had gone, okay, I hope he's not watching. If you are, I'm sharing your story, and I apologize. But I didn't say your name. But before he left, he came to me and he said, Miss Theresa, guess what I did? I found this picture, and he had a picture on his phone, and it was one of those like pictures of Jesus on the wall where he kind of looks like he's from Abba. You know what I'm talking about? Those pictures. And he says, I put this in my living room because my family needs to know that Jesus is first in our family. And I was like, that's awesome. And he goes, yeah, I stole it from my friend's house. I was like, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. You know, we don't steal. But the point is he was doing everything he could to put Jesus in his family. We had to teach him how to pray. We had to teach him what does it look like to sit down at a meal with your kids instead of everybody on their phone or just spread out everywhere. And when they finished their classes, they said, well, what else you got? What other classes you have? So we brought him in. We paired him with a guy that was mentoring him. We paired her with a female that was mentoring her. They started walking together. They ended up getting married. And then here was my favorite part. Their last day of class, they brought in her mother and his sister, and they said, we don't know what y'all did, but these are not the same people that came in. And that's when we got to say it wasn't us. That was the Lord working in them, and they did the hard work. And then what we learned is one of the reasons addiction was such a big part of their lives is they were both raised in households of abuse and addiction. Her mother had been a prostitute, and that little girl grew up in strip clubs. Why would she not turn to drugs to try to medicate that trauma? Right? And so then we got to look at multiple generations of assistance. And I'll tell you, and this is not a bragging on us, but it's bragging on what the Lord did. That family is different because that judge ordered them to that court class. And so they're one of those I still keep up with. And they're doing great. And he still has that stolen picture of Jesus hanging up in his living room. But you know what? That's okay. He'll get there. But last year, so the Family Center grew out of, we started seeing more and more families like this, and we were crammed into this little clinic downtown, and our waiting room would be packed full trying to get people going. So we had the opportunity in 2019 to look at purchasing a building, and we purchased a building over on O'Neill Street. It's Old Father's House Church. If you've been here a long time, it was a laundromat. If you're here a really long time, it was Travis School. But we started working on that, and now getting ready to open that, it's going to be just focused on building families. And so we'll offer counseling there through some of our interns, being able to do that. And then we have our fatherhood program working out of there. We have last year, the Hope Center of Greenville approached our board. Their board approached our board and said, hey, Mr. Spade is retiring, and we love your mission. We love what you do. We love the work you do. We would love to have the Hope Center come under the Rafa umbrella. And so by the end of this year, Hope Center will come into the Rafa family, and we'll now offer GED, ESL, and computer classes for those same families as well. Because again, if I've got a 17-year-old sitting there and she says, sorry, I'm trying to watch my time. If she says, I can't have this baby, I want to finish high school. Okay, I want you to finish high school, but you're due in like 4 months. How are we going to do this? So now if I can say, hey, let's go over here to the Family Center, we can work with PJC at no cost to get a GED for you. And then we work with Texas Workforce Commission to get tech or college paid for. Then now it's not, I'm giving you a handout. It's teaching a man to fish, right? Because now you're getting the education and the tools that you need to be able to go out and support the family. And when I say her, please know everything we do for her, short of the sonogram, goes for him too. Because we've had dads come in who never finished high school, and they're working their tails off and not making anything but trying to support a family. So whenever we tell them, like, hey, did you know that you can go through workforce and we can do this, this, and this? Well, no. And we've seen guys go through HVAC school, welding school, things like that, where now they can support their family in a way that they're proud of, right? They can go out and they can actually feed their family well and get off some of the assistance programs that they're on. So we have a lot going on right now, and that's why when people say, I always ask if you know what Rafa does, because Rafa has lots of different hats that we do. And it all grew out of that one little closet trying to give away clothes and diapers. And what we did is, as ministry does work, when you start walking with people, you learn all the underlying needs, right? All the story that they weren't going to share with you. And so last April, we actually went through our rebranding for the ministry because it is growing and we are adding more things. And so we're now just called Rafa because all these things have these different hats now and different focuses. And our new tagline for that is rescuing lives and rebuilding families. And I feel like that encompasses what we do. Because if we can save that one life, we can also equip a family for that child to grow up in a good, godly home. Not only are we affecting that family, but we're affecting our next generation for these little ones growing up in Greenville, right? We're going to make it better for them. So another thing I just want to hit on really quickly, and I'll open up for questions, is the book you have tells a little bit of our story, but it also tells how you can get involved. I'm going to be real honest with you guys. COVID killed our volunteers. Not literally. Killed them. Might need to rephrase that. We went from having about 40 active volunteers and a staff of about 8 or 9 at that point to now I only have probably about 5 or 6 active volunteers. That's losing multiple full-time staff members for us. So I would ask if you have heard anything today that you're like, I want more information on that. I want to know how I could mentor, or how I could teach a class, or I just come and help with baby clothes or help in the back office. We need you guys now more than ever. We've got a web page that explains all of our current volunteer opportunities, and it's just called supportrafa.com. That's also how you can give, and there's lots of giving opportunities. You can imagine to offer free medical and classes that we do requires a lot of capital, and so we do always work on donations too. But the other thing too is I would just ask you to continue to pray, because we have had many, many barriers. The work we do is very spiritually open for attack. We literally deal with lives every single day, and the enemy does not like that. And so when we walk in the door every morning, we pray together as a team. We pray throughout the day together. But what we found is when the enemy wants to really make us ineffective, he attacks us and he attacks our families. So I always ask whenever I meet with churches, please pray for our staff and our board and our families, our volunteers, because he does not like what we do. But we still show up because that's where he's called us to work. And we'd love, in light of all the attack warnings, we'd love to have you join us. But just be prepared. I always say that because the work you do is hard when you're there, but it is so worthwhile. I'll close with this story. I had a few years ago. I was sitting in my office one day and I realized the date. And y'all, I know patient number 1 who came through Rafa. I found her and I see where she is. She's doing well, and that child was well. But I realized that year, it was getting close to graduation in Greenville, and I realized this is our first graduating class. So I went to that graduation. Now, did I know that one and that one? No, I didn't know which ones were which. But just pure numbers tell me some of those were Rafa babies, and they were graduating. And I sat up there by myself and ugly cried like they were all my own. I mean, I'm talking ugly, snot, the whole 9 things. But it was just a glimpse to be able to see, I know the Lord is using this ministry and this community in a big way. And that, again, is not a prideful thing, because I see the many people who come in and make that happen. And so we appreciate your support. We'd love for you to join us in a new way if you're interested in helping. But I am going to open to questions and see if you guys have any questions about anything we do, or any projects that I've talked about, or ways you can get involved, or more. Anything else?
Like for volunteers, what kind of hours do y'all have?
It really varies. It depends on the role. Yes, I will repeat the question. So she asked for volunteers what kind of hour commitment, right? It depends on what you're volunteering for. Some of our more time-consuming volunteer jobs are like our teaching, because you're meeting with the same group on a weekly basis, generally 2 to 4 hours a week, but some of those are evening opportunities, and most of those are actually virtual now. And so it may mean that you're meeting with someone over like a Zoom link, a group link, that kind of thing. We're trying to keep that, because for our clients, again, we've got clients out in Smith County and Mineola we're Zooming into. And so those are more the time-consuming ones, because they are weekly at the same time every week. But as far as like helping in the office, in the boutique, or mentoring, that's on your own time. So if you're partnered with a young mom, then you're going to set up time to meet with her, and it can be a meet, like a Google Meet, or it can be in the office. But it's based on y'all's schedules. We've even had some that, like some of our guys especially, they'll meet with them in the evening. I had one guy, they met at Taco Bell every week. That's where they met. And then whenever Chick-fil-A, and this was, you can tell it's a while ago, when Chick-fil-A opened, They moved to Chick-fil-A because their kids could play. They were two single dads, and they would meet together and encourage each other, and their kids would play on the playground while they would have dinner. So we try to make it very flexible because our moms and dads need flexibility too, right? Yes.
So, I'm gonna plant this question. There's also, tell them about if they can volunteer, if they like to plan events, if they like to host a
Yes.
fundraiser, or,
Yes.
we've got a lot of events throughout the year that could help planning and
Yes.
set up,
Yes.
so it's like one-time thing.
Yes, so the question was, or the planted question was about events and fundraisers and things like that from our board member, who is concerned about those things too. Yes, we actually have an event coming up November 17th. That's our annual fundraising dinner, and we always need help with those types of events. We do that. We do a bunco event in the spring that is just a one-night event that always needs lots of help. And if you've ever been, it is a super fun night. The Phillips family is known for some fierce competition on that night. But we're probably adding another event this spring I guess it's spring, right before Valentine's Day, so you can watch for that. It's actually going to be a ladies' event to talk about volunteer opportunities and just things of how to get involved. But we also are not opposed if you have an idea, because with this growth, we are also having more needs for other fundraisers and other events. And so even if it means you host people in your home and we come and we talk about Rafa or what that looks like for you. But these volunteer opportunities are, like he was saying, it's kind of a one-day. If you don't follow us on Facebook, we have a couple of different Facebook pages, but the one that's just entitled Rafa is the one for our supporters, and that's where you're going to see these events opportunities come up. Also, if we have a mom in need, like we just had a mom in Houston that was our client, relocated there. She delivered twins this week, and you guys did a virtual baby shower for her. And so, things like that where we'll post it online, where we have a mom that has a specific need, and you guys are always faithful to help fill those. I mean, come on, you can do Amazon from your phone and never even have to leave, right? You just do it right there. So, yes, good question. So those are definitely events coming up, and we always invite you to, if you are interested in, I know that Jeff and Melinda are table hosts for that event, and so the banquet that's coming up on the 17th, I'm very excited about. This will be probably our biggest one we've ever had. This is a great way for you to come and learn more about Rafa and hear some client stories and see the impact. But it's also a fundraising banquet, so if you feel led in that way, that's a good event for you to attend as well.
I have a table to fill, so if you want to
He
come
does.
see me,
He's a quota to
don't
meet,
call
right?
anybody else, call me.
All right, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Are there any specific needs that you have? Maybe somebody can't volunteer, but maybe you need diapers, sides, whatever, or you need bottles or baby wipes, whatever. What can we just bring you?
Always baby wipes, 100%. We go through them literally like water. Baby wipes are, and Amazon, we have an Amazon baby registry. So if you just bookmark that and watch, we update that with our most current needs. So you can buy them on there. But if you're at Costco and you see the Kirkland diaper wipes on sale, load up, or like Marshall's, Ross, those kinds of places, the discount rack for baby clothes where they're like $1 each, or Walmart when they change seasons. Grab $20 worth of clothes and bring them in, because we definitely always need anything you would need for a new baby. We supply new car seats. We get those through TxDOT. They don't cost us a dime. And we supply new cribs. Those are the two things I always give new, just for risk and liability. But everything else we will take, and Amazon registry is really the best way to see that. But I would say the most cost-effective one we go through, I buy wipes almost every week. I mean, it's definitely something we always need. Yes. Anything else? Y'all are quiet.
There's
Okay.
one question. I love the story, if you can condense it, of the lady that you helped 16 years ago.
Well, if they show up at banquet, they're going to hear about it. But I'll give them the short version. You're stealing my thunder,
I'm
Jeff.
sorry.
That's okay.
I tell people all the time that story.
I love this story, yeah. So I'm trying to get it to our banquet as one of our stories, but I'll just share. One of the benefits of serving at Rafa as long as I have is I've seen women come through over the years. And we had a young lady that came in this year. I actually scanned her 16-year-old when she was pregnant in an unplanned pregnancy way back then. So I followed her all these years and just talked to her, mentored her, walked her through some difficult things. And she's she's not making all the best life choices yet. I still have hope and I still pour into her. But she is pregnant again, and she came in seeking services to help with this baby. And so I was just talking to her. I was like, you realize I scanned your 16-year-old. Like, that's how long we've known each other. And she just started crying, and she said, I don't know where she is. And her children have been removed from CPS or with CPS because of her life choices that she was making. And she shared with me that she was very concerned about this 16-year-old because she was supposedly with one family member, but she was living with this distant uncle, and she thought she was in Oklahoma, and she wasn't exactly sure where she was. But she was very concerned because of some of the people they knew together had been telling them that they thought she was being trafficked. And so part of what Rafa does, again, we never know what's going to come through that door, right? Rape victims, trafficking victims, abuse victims. We never know. And this particular girl, it just so happened, as God does, one of my hats I serve on is in the Rotary Anti-Trafficking Group. And so through the connections made there, I texted a friend of mine in that group who works with the FBI, and I said, hey, this is this girl. Any chance you can help this mom find this girl? Like, she just doesn't even know where her daughter is. And CPS didn't even know she was gone. But she's 16. I mean, she's going to leave if she wants to leave, right? So within 3 minutes of that text message, I get a response back from this contact and said, is this her? And it was a photo. And I turned and I showed it to that mom and I said, is this your daughter? And she's just, you can imagine, right? The tears. 3 minutes it took them to find social media sites where they had made fake sites and they were selling her. And then through that contact, they were able to work with local law enforcement and get her out of that situation. Now, she's not back with her mom yet because she doesn't have custody, but she's in a safe place. She's being cared for. She's getting some counseling for that. But that's not why that girl came in that day, right? She came in because she was pregnant again and trying to get on Medicaid. But just through conversation and relationship of walking, we were able to help. And I don't take credit for that. It was that contact. But 3 minutes, guys, they found her and got her out I think she was out within 48 hours.
Well, and what I'll say about that story, and I know people online can't hear me, but it's the long-term connection
Yeah.
that this ministry has with people. So she poured into this mother 16 years ago where she knew she needed to come back and find a place for us. And
Yeah.
it was right there. And through that, she's able to get
Yeah.
her daughter out of trafficking. So
Yeah. I haven't met the daughter yet,
it's not a one
but I
and
want
done
to. No.
thing at Rafa. It is a lifetime relationship for the most part.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that's why we show up, right? We can't be the church for them, but we can be Jesus to them, right? So yeah, my big hope is that I can get them there and you guys can meet them because I mean, they're eager to tell their story as well. So any other questions? Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Teresa will share a few minutes in the service as well, but thank you so much for coming. I just love this lady to death. Her heart is, I'm just horrible for her. It's amazing what they do. So thanks for everyone online. I know you probably can't hear me, but I'll just wave, and we'll take a few minutes and break. Let me close this in prayer. Father God, we do thank you, Lord,